So Dan Meridor is a highly regarded senior statesman with many years of dedicated service to the State of Israel. He's been a leader in both domestic and foreign policy, and also a leader of some of Israel's premier cultural organizations. He is an Israeli politician and civic leader who served as deputy prime minister and in numerous other ministerial positions in successive Israeli governments. He was born in Jerusalem towards the end of the mandate era, the son of a former member of Knesset, Eliyahu Meridor, and he himself served in the IDF, where he fought as a tank commander captain. He later earned an LLB from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and worked as an attorney in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv for many years. Then he went on to become a cabinet secretary from 1982 to 84. And then after that, he ran for a cabinet secretary, he ran for the Knesset and the Likud list for 1984 elections. As a freshman member, he was appointed chairman of 2 legislative subcommittees, and he went on to hold many ministerial positions throughout his time in the Knesset, including Minister of Justice, Minister of Finance, Deputy Prime Minister, and in 1998, together with several other Likud and Labor Party members, he co-founded Israel in the Center Party, which later became the Center Party, and led to his election as a Center Party member of Knesset in 1999. He's held a variety of civic leadership positions, including chairman of the Public Council of the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra, chairman of the board of the Israel Museum, and member of the board of the Gesher Theater. Currently, he serves as the chairman of the board of Betzalel, Academy of Art and Design, an amazing institution, and chairman of the Jerusalem Press Club, who are, my next introduction will address that institution as well, and he's also the head of the Israel Council on Foreign Relations. So, as you can see, we have an illustrious and a very senior statement with us today. We really appreciate you being here, Dan. I'm also going to introduce Uri while I'm up here, because after Dan's comments, we will have a conversation between Uri and Dan, a little bit about world and Jerusalem, putting those two in perspective. Uri Dromi is the Director General of the Jerusalem Press Club. I want to thank him personally as well. He has helped us tremendously with today and with the video that we'll be seeing after the conversation with Dan from former Ambassador Michael Oren. So we will finish with a few words from Israel, directly from Israel. So I want to thank Uri for his efforts on our behalf in Israel. Uri, prior to his present role at the Jerusalem Press Club, was the Director General of Mishkanot Sha'ananim Conference Center. Most of you know that as a venue for international artistic and cultural activities in the spirit of dialogue and tolerance, and it was established by the Jerusalem Foundation. Dromi also Uri served as a spokesman of the Rabin and Perez governments from 92 to 96 during the dramatic days of the Oslo peace process. So he comes with a lot of experience in the world of journalism, and therefore he'll be conducting a wonderful conversation with Dan about Jerusalem and about the world. So I'm hoping, Yoram, with your permission, at the end of the conversation, we might be able to ask some questions then. So please hold your questions, remember them. Once Uri is done with Dan, he'll open up to the audience, and hopefully you'll get to ask some very difficult questions from Dan. So thank you for coming today, and I really appreciate Dan. And we'll start with you, Dan. Please welcome.
Shalom to everyone here. It is true, I don't know what spell Sharon has over me, but the fact is that she called me, and here I am. What is more interesting is when I left, my daughter-in-law was in labor. She was about to bring the 8th grandchild of mine, and when I sat here and Sharon was speaking, I got on the WhatsApp 3 kilograms, 320 grams. This is what it is. So we are, I already said Mazal Tov from Los Angeles on the WhatsApp. This is the world we live in now. Well, I'm happy to be here. I know Sharon and the family for years, and I really think highly of them. And the fact that I have a cousin living here in Westwood did add something to my decision to come, and she's here with me. Eli Weintraub. I'm happy to be here. Jerusalem. I am a Jerusalemite. I was born there. As Sharon said, I still have a certificate of birth, Government of Palestine, District of Jerusalem, 1947, a year before the state was established. And in my youth days, I didn't know Jerusalem. I lived outside Jerusalem, in what was called the western side. Jerusalem was in the hands of the Jordanian kingdom, the old city that is. Some of the new neighborhoods were called West Jerusalem. There I lived, small city. Everybody knew everybody, more or less. And I have to admit, it may look strange to you, I belong to a very small minority in the Israeli political spectrum. I mean my family, that believe that one day we will have the entirety, the whole of the city, and we'll never give up on this. This was a minority view, not the government, not the prime ministers. They all used to say, we don't want anything, we want peace on the existing borders, that's it. I remember those years as a child. I remember going in Jerusalem in the edge of what then used to be the Armistice Line. There still is a monastery called Notre Dame de Paris, I think, or Notre Dame de Sion, maybe, Jerusalem. Was a place where you could go mount up on the roof, and there was a IDF post overlooking the old city. It's one of the only places you could look at the old city. We used to go there and look how the old city looks like. On Erev Tisha B'Av, we used to go to Mount Zion. There, by tradition, was the place of burial of King David, and there was tradition of reading Megillat Eicha there. I still have at my home Bible with the works on Eicha papers, because it was with candles that we read it. And there, when you stood or sat just near the old city, you felt what the words mean. Eicha yashva badad, Har Tzion sheshameim, if you know the text of Megillat Eicha. I remember the soldiers of the Arab Legion in Abu Tor in Jerusalem with red kafiyas. And there was this hope that one day Jerusalem would be united. I think it's strange, but I remember the day that I heard of unification of Jerusalem, liberation of Jerusalem. I was standing in the tank that I was commanding in Sinai. I'm that old. In 1967, I was just before the battle on Bir Gafgafa in Sinai, and we got on the news that Jerusalem is liberated. I remember how sorry I was. A victorious war. But why am I not in Jerusalem? Why am I here in Sinai when this happens? Then I remember that when I came back home, still with uniform, the first time was in Shavuot, after the war, and we went down to see, for the first time in my life, the Kotel Ma'aravi, the Wailing Wall. There really was a feeling of history. The wings of history were everywhere. You felt it, you heard it, you saw it. In a way, Jerusalem is a dream, a vision, a longing, aspiration. As was said here, Yerushalayim shel Mala, heavenly Jerusalem. And there was a Jewish hope for so many years, and a Jewish prayer. And we all think that here the prayer came true. But let me make things a little more complicated. The prayer that Jews used to pray, still used to pray, is V'techazena einenu b'shuvcha leTzion, and let our eyes see your return to Zion. I think the Zionist movement turned this verse upside down. We see, let your eyes see our return to Zion. V'techazena einecha b'shuvenu leTzion. We didn't wait for God Almighty with Mashiach to bring us to Zion. We took our fate in our own hands, and we are here. And I'm saying it not just for a trick of words, but Jerusalem is not the heavenly Jerusalem. There is a heavenly Jerusalem, but there is the real one that we are building, that we are living in, that we are coping with the problems it poses to us. It's a real city. The hope always is sort of messianic hope, that one day a city of peace, a city of promise to everybody, everybody loves everybody, and all the prophecies with the prophets in the days of exile about Jerusalem, wonderful verses that we all learned by heart. It all came true, and now we face not the dream, not Jerusalem shel Mala, heavenly Jerusalem, but Jerusalem shel Mata, the earthly Jerusalem. And this city has in it this combination of the greatest aspiration, the greatest dream come true here in our time, in our life, and we are there. But on the other hand, it's a city with people, not all Zionists. In fact, in the city of Zion, Zionists are a minority. Haredim are not Zionists, the Arabs definitely are not Zionists. And this is where we live, and we have to cope with the city of Jerusalem as it is and see what we do with it. In our time and along the history of the city, what do we do with this city? How do we solve the problems? Where do we advance the city? What do we want to make of the city? And there always is this tension between the great hope, the ideal vision of Jerusalem, and the reality, which is not always ideal. It is a beautiful city. I think everybody who visited Jerusalem would admit to that. It is a very exciting city. It is changing. Some things are changing in a positive way. Some things are worrying me. And I can't touch all of it here, but I'll speak of 2 or 3 issues, and then Uri will ask the smart questions, and I try to give my answers to them, and we'll see what we make of it. But the first thing I want to ask myself here in public is what was not touched upon here: Jerusalem and the peace process, or the Arab-Israeli conflict. Is this the stumbling block upon which the peace process fails? Is it because of Jerusalem, because of the irreconcilable demands or aspirations or dreams of both sides or all sides, that we cannot get an agreement of peace, end of conflict? Well, nobody can give a mathematical answer here, but I would speak of 2 experiences that we had in the past, and my conclusion is that this is not the issue on which everything falls apart. I happened to be at the Camp David, Maryland, in the year 2000 with President Clinton, Prime Minister Barak, and the late Chairman Arafat. I was definitely in the Israeli team, not the other teams. And I remember very well those 14 days where I might have been the most naive of all participants who thought there's going to be an agreement. I didn't know it, but I thought if they don't say yes to what we offer here, there's no agreement. And Prime Minister Barak broke taboos on Jerusalem in order to get an agreement. Until that day, United Jerusalem was something nobody ever doubted in public or in private. The first night, President Clinton asked me over, we met before, he asked me over to his cabin. We had cabins there. It's not like Uncle Tom's cabin, it's somewhat nicer, but still cabins. And he said to me, among other things, I know that Barak cannot give up on Jerusalem. He didn't know well enough, because Barak did agree to divide Jerusalem in a smart, subtle way, but he gave up. He said Jerusalem would be divided sovereignty-wise. The Jewish quarter, maybe another quarter to the Jews, to Israel, the other to the Arab Palestinian state. And they didn't take it. It came to the Temple Mount, and not on that it broke. It broke down not because they didn't agree on this, I think. It broke down because one small other issue was not at all bridged. What they call the right of return, or the refugees issue, or the end of conflict. Once we have an agreement, that's the end of it. You don't come with demands to send Palestinians to live in Israel. And I remember the last day of the conference, when security was more or less agreed, when the issue of land did not seem to be an unsurmountable obstacle. And Jerusalem was an issue that was not agreed because of Temple Mount. And I remember Clinton asking Arafat, maybe you'll take this offer. Let's say everything is agreed and leave Jerusalem for another 2 years. We'll discuss it and try to resolve it later. Arafat said no, and I remember Clinton asking Saib Arikat, a guy from Jericho, still is around, ask the chairman, maybe we'll reconsider. Maybe we'll say we have an agreement, we reached so much. And the answer came in the negative, and there was no agreement. I jump, I think 8 years later, 2008. Olmert was the prime minister. Maybe he's not very popular to speak of today, but he was the prime minister. And regardless of what happened after, he seriously wanted to get an agreement, and he offered Condoleezza Rice. I take it from the book she wrote. I don't take Olmert's words for certain reasons, nor the Palestinians' words. She says Olmert offered Abu Mazen a division of Jerusalem according to neighborhoods, the Jewish to Israel, the Arab to the Arabs, and a special regime in the Holy Basin. I don't know what it was, international regime in the Holy Basin. Not very clear, but this is something nobody ever offered. Since 1948, nobody spoke of international regime in Jerusalem. And one could have thought they would take this. Even this was not agreed. So I'm not sure that if all the rest was agreed, Jerusalem would not be a problem, but it was not the issue on which everything fell down. And I say it because I have criticism on my government today. I'm not very happy with the government. But I don't see that there is a direct link. When we had much more dovish government who went all the way, it still didn't suffice. It was not enough for the Arab side. If you add to this the fact that on the other side, it's not clear that there is a leadership that is capable to make a decision to end the conflict. And if you look at the Middle East around us, and the turmoil of the Arab world, and the falling apart of all national identities into religious groups and tribal groups, and Hamas and Fatah, I say it for our topic, that I think it will not be right to say leave Jerusalem for the agreement. Until then, let's leave it like that, we can't touch it. No, I think it's wrong. Even if there's no agreement, or until there's agreement, we need to deal with Jerusalem. We can't leave it like that. It's already 48 years from 1967. 67, June, next month, or this month, or next month, sorry. It will be 48 years since the Israeli government, according to the Israeli law that was enacted then, decided to annex, to apply the Israeli law and sovereignty to East Jerusalem in an enlarged way, much bigger than ever Jerusalem was under Jordanian rule. And we have an Israeli law applied to all of Jerusalem. And I think this is not right to say, let's leave things like that. We need to deal with Jerusalem as it is. People live there, people die there, people work there, people have their problems need to be resolved there. And we need to deal with Jerusalem without waiting. We may do things that will enhance the chances of peace or put obstacles in the way to peace. That's another issue. But we need to deal with it. I say it even historically or morally. You know, it is a moral test to us. I think that we who have been minorities all over the diaspora years of the Jewish people, and this is why our people were very active in human rights, minority rights movements all over the world, including this country. Our historic and moral test is when we are the majority, how do we treat minorities? Do we treat the Arabs in Jerusalem as we wanted to be treated when we were a minority, or do we act differently? So I think it is a major test for us, and we need to deal with the city from the religious point of view, the national point of view, social point of view, educational. Everything that you heard here is important. It's not something that can be done and can be omitted. You need to deal with this. We are the Jewish side. We're not the only citizens, the only inhabitants. But we are the majority. And we are the government. And we are the power. It's very much in our hands. This is why we are tested. Do we do the right things? Don't we do the right things? Yes, Jerusalem is now open to all religions. Never in history was it that open. When the Christians, or before this, when the Romans came in, they destroyed. When the Muslims came in, they didn't let others come in. When the Crusaders came, they took the Muslims out. When Salah ad-Din liberated it from the Crusaders, they kicked others out. Under all regimes, it was never that open to everybody. Under the Jordanian occupation of Jerusalem in the 19 years that Jordan was the government of Jerusalem, they never made of it a capital, but it was an important city, and it was not allowed to Jews to come in, for example. Now it's open, and it's religiously open to everyone, and this is I think, a good result that we can take credit for. But from the internal Jewish story, it's not that simple. We heard here of Haredim and non-Haredim. And I think you spoke, El, of Tel Aviv being the center for the Chilonim, the secular, and Jerusalem for the religious. Not for me, sorry, I beg to differ. Religiously, it's one issue. Can I quote here a non-Jew called John Paul II, the Pope? Although he had the white yarmulke, he was not Jewish. He once said that Jerusalem is a city that is holy to the three religions, but promised only to one nation. This is him saying it. So on the religious side, of course, it's for the Christians, for the Muslims, definitely for the Jews, it's the center, it's the heart. For us, it's the only. For the Christians, they have Rome and Jerusalem. For the Muslims, they have Mecca and Medina and Jerusalem, but holy for three. But for me, it's my national capital. And I want it, in fact, in everyday life, to represent the new Israel, the new people of Israel. I want people in Israel, both Arabs and Jews all over the world, to be able to identify with this city. If it becomes only a secular city, only a Haredi city, it will not be a city for everybody. If it's another Bnei Brak, it will not be a city for everybody. I want it to stay an open, modern, inviting city that it used to be and can still be. So I think it's in our hands. What do we do with that city? By the way, I don't want to go into Israeli politics, but no mayor can do it on his own. It's the government issue. It's a huge issue in terms of numbers, demography, that I think I didn't come early enough. I was still coming from the airport. But the numbers are such that no municipality, no mayor can do it on his own. The government needs to step in terms of subsidies, of money, of policy. But it's a huge issue for the country to see that the city stays as it used to be, which is why it's important that we have the Israel Museum there. Those of you who were, I suppose most of you were, you see the Israel Museum, which is a center of art and culture for Israel, where the Jerusalem Khan, where the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra, where Betzalel, the Israel Art Academy, where the Hebrew University is. It's important. It's not just another segment of population city. And the trends of demography are a cause for concern. I can tell you frankly, and we need to speak the truth, my home was always open, still open on Friday night. Many of my friends used to come. Very few live in Jerusalem now. Most of them left Jerusalem. And people of my kind, so to speak, many of them follow the children leaving Jerusalem. Tel Aviv seems more attractive to some people. So we have a problem here. And it's a government issue. It's a policy issue. And if we don't want to end up with something that we don't like, we need to do something about it. And I leave it at that. But even from the internal Jewish issue, the religious internal Jewish issue is a problem. My mother, who is now 92 years of age and is not a religious woman, since 1967, every Shabbat, she goes down to the Wailing Wall, to the Kotel. That's the way she identifies, and she does it almost every Shabbat. In recent years, when she went there in summertime, they didn't let her come in because she had short sleeves. And the rabbi said, you can't come in. At the age of 92, she can be very seductive, I suppose, or something. And I went to the rabbi of the Kotel, Rav Rabinovich, and told him, what are you doing there? Why can't she go in? It's hard for her. It's warm, and she doesn't want to. No, it's Bet Knesset here. I told him, it's not Bet Knesset here. It's a national place. It's not Bet Knesset. In Bet Knesset, you don't go this way. So there is an issue here. In Israel, the Orthodox Judaism is the ruling, what should I say, conviction. But worldwide, if conservatives want to pray, the question of women praying there caused a lot of trouble and went to Supreme Court several times. Reform people. We need to see that it's really inclusive, and we don't make it a very specific kind of Judaism that is the only Judaism that can celebrate itself in Jerusalem. So we need to work on it. Nothing is given, nothing comes from a heavenly design. It's our own hands that do it, and we need to do it right. From the internal Jewish issue, the internal Jewish angle, and from the external or Jewish-Arab issue. A Jewish-Arab issue, again, to me, we have done a lot. I'm not saying that, I'm not coming here to criticize, but we haven't done enough. If you walk the streets of Jerusalem, if you compare, I think that Forsan spoke of it earlier, compare the sidewalks where I live and compare this to a sidewalk in the Arab parts of the city. The electricity, the kindergarten, the school, it's not the same. I don't think the municipality can do it on its own. It's a national interest that we show what equality is. We can't do it overnight. It takes affirmative action. People don't come from the same background. It's not going to be done overnight. But it needs to be done. If we speak of a united Jerusalem, let it be united. Let it be a city that treats equally all the citizens, Jews, Arabs, secular, religious, whatever. So more needs to be done. If you walk in Ir David, I don't know if some of you, I suppose some of you have been there, wonderful place of archaeological excavation that really go down to the root of our history. Even before King David came to conquer the city from the Yevusim, as the Bible tells us, even after that. And all the history in Jerusalem is really excavated there. And it's a very impressive, very emotional, very, very important excavation. And it's done well. But if you walk out there and you move 2 meters to Silwan, you see two worlds in 2 meters away in terms of what is the infrastructure, how it looks like, how many educational institutions serve here and there. I used to say to the mayors of Jerusalem, to other people, we haven't done enough. When I became Minister of Finance, which is, I think, about 18 years ago, it was a year of tough cuts that I had to do in the budget, including military budget and whatnot. And I can say on my own initiative, I went to the mayor, then Ehud Olmert, and told him, Ehud, I'm going to give you money to invest only in infrastructure for the Arabs in East Jerusalem. I remember we cut from the budget 130 million shekels. I wanted to do it 4 years, but after a year I left the government for other reasons, so that they will improve the infrastructure. I cannot look at it. I'm living in that city. How can we leave it like that? By the way, in the Jerusalem Foundation that is partnering in this evening, I saw Moshe Fogel here. Is he still there? I was chairing this foundation some years ago, and we raised $17 million to build the school, bilingual school that you heard of here, the Hand in Hand, because we thought it's important. So we need to do more if we want one city. I don't speak of the politics of it. We live together. There is a security issue. A sad story, I have to say, that a third of the city are Arabs, who are Jerusalem inhabitants, and for security reasons, they are sometimes harassed more than necessary. I don't want to go into details. But I'll tell you the following story that is painful, but it happened to me just some time ago. When I was a minister in the last government until 2 years ago, I had a problem with the following story. Every Friday I used to go and shop in the grocery and for fruits and vegetables in the shop nearby. And there's a lot of stuff to take home. Not that we eat much, but we used to invite people. And the shop used to give me one of the workers there to bring it to my home with a carriage. And all of a sudden, I see that the Arab guy who's done is not let in because they are checking in a way that he can't get in. I was fighting like hell. Why do you do it? Because he's Arab. Now, this guy came to me and told me a story about 3 weeks ago. They took his family, he's a Jerusalem guy, with 4 kids, I think, in his car. They went to the Kinneret for Shabbat or something, and he was stopped at the crossing in the north of the Jordan Valley, and they harassed him. He had to go home. And it's painful to me to hear it. Yesterday or day before, he came to our home and he said, you know what I did? I went to Haifa, and I did it in the Haifa. And Haifa is a great city, he says. Arabs and Jews live with no problems there. So there's a way to live with no problems. Haifa is a good example. Jerusalem has not reached that phase yet, and we need to do it. It's not impossible, and we need to do it. It's not easy, but as I said, we are tested by our own moral values, not only by the political word and the way people look at us. I speak for our own sake. So I will end with this and then let Uri do the important part of this event. It's a unique opportunity for our generation. We are part of a revolution that the Jewish people carried out. In our time, in our parents' time, the Jewish people saw the worst and the best in its history in a very short period of time. From the abyss of the massacre in Europe, the whole world watching and doing practically nothing, and the extermination of a third of our people in Europe, to the height, the peak of rebuilding a Jewish state in our land. And it's really amazing. We speak of numbers. Now we're 8.5 billion people, more than 6 million Jews among them in the land of Israel. Who could have thought of it? Were the Jews ever that strong? No. Were the Jews ever that weak as they were 60, 70 years ago? No. Both of them happened in such a short period. It all happened by people, by us. So I do believe that we can do more than we have done. We have succeeded in doing miracles in that sense, militarily, economically, scientifically, educationally, whatnot. And Jerusalem is the jewel of the crown. And we need it to be a story of success. It is a beautiful city. It's being built beautifully. It's becoming more beautiful every week you come, you see more things. You've heard of some of them today. But still there are problems that will not go away. And if we decide to have the city as the capital of Israel and the capital of Jewish people in many ways, that all Jews can relate to and identify with, and all inhabitants, Jews and Arabs, can relate to and identify with, and all Israelis, we need to take it as a major project and not wait for peace process, not wait for other things. It's not one other city. It's Jerusalem. And we need, as a government, as a state, and Jews in diaspora who want to take care and do take care, take part. Not many times in history were Jews able to build Jerusalem. We can build Jerusalem. Everyone here who wants to take part by donating, contributing, living, doing something about Jerusalem, I think should be happy that he has this opportunity. His parents, grandparents, generation couldn't do that. We can do it now. Keeping Jerusalem the city, want to keep it. And I wish that all of us do our best that Jerusalem becomes even more central and successful than it is now. Thank you.
When we talk over the phone, she says once in a while, Uri, this talk isn't getting anywhere. So I hope our talk will get somewhere. And Sharon mentioned that you are the chairman of the Jerusalem Press Club. Therefore, I need to treat you with extra respect now. So with your permission, can I tell them about Mr. Cohen? Yes, okay. Mr. Cohen was very rich and very old. And when he got sick, he told his sons, take me to Jerusalem. I want to die and be buried in Jerusalem. So they took him to Jerusalem and put him at Shaare Tzedek hospital, and they're waiting. But the fresh air of Jerusalem does miracle on him, and he's recovering, and he's getting strong, and he says, okay, let's go back to the States. So he says, but Dad, you said you want to die and be buried in Jerusalem. I said, yes, die and buried, but to live here? So, but you and I and many of our colleagues here either were born in Jerusalem or chose, like myself, to be in Jerusalem. I think love Jerusalem with a passion, but it's difficult, isn't it? So tell us, but you know, I'm kind with you because you just got a new grandchild, but tell us frankly what you like about Israel, about Jerusalem, what you don't like about Jerusalem.
First of all, I was born in that city. I'm living in the home that was, the apartment, the building that was bought by my grandfather, who made Aliyah in 1935 from Vienna. And in the same house we live today. My mother in one apartment, my sister in another apartment, I in another apartment, and the others rented out. So like every Arab family, a hamula, we live together, and I like it very much. And I'll tell you, I don't want to be too specific.
No,
and I don't want to say anything bad about cities that are on the shore. I don't want to mention names. But Jerusalem is not built on sand. It's built on rock. Everything is more solid.
Something started with
and you walk in Jerusalem before sunset and see the color of the sky, the purple blue color of Jerusalem. You don't have it anywhere in the world. You walk in the alleys of the old city, whatever time, by the way, whatever part, Muslim, Christian, Armenian, Jewish, it's fully secure. Don't read the papers, don't watch TV, you can do it. It's an atmosphere you don't see anywhere else. When I walk through Jaffa Gate to the old city, I don't feel I cross to another country, as some people want me to believe. I feel I'm at the heart of my country. When I walk the streets of Rehavia and Tel Aviv, where I live, I mean, can you show me anything like it here in Beverly Hills? I'm not sure. It's maybe not less expensive now, but it's different and it's beautiful. And you walk and you live where our history was created.
Okay, what you dislike?
And the beauty of the city and history of the city. I know it's in a way heavy. It's heavier than the easy-going Dolce Vita or of other cities, which is nice.
Which means Tel Aviv.
I didn't
bunch
say
of hedonists sitting on a beach.
No. I didn't say that.
All the time.
No, wait.
Inventing ways, selling it to Google.
I found out after research.
Dan, when they celebrated the 100th anniversary of Tel Aviv in 2009, we all said, may you live under 120.
Well, Tel Aviv is a great city. I have to tell you that out of my 4 children, 3 live in Tel Aviv, 1 in Jerusalem.
Which is a big problem because
I agree.
All my friends are leaving Tel Aviv.
I don't want to say anything negative, but Tel Aviv is a beautiful city. Very attractive to Israelis, to foreigners, by the way, Jews and non-Jews. Everybody wants to live in Tel Aviv. It became a very attractive city, and it's very successful.
But why? The light,
it's a different
Jaffa
thing.
Gate.
It's a different thing. Jerusalem has a different quality to it. It has a different history to it. And I'm not against Tel Aviv at all. I think there is a great story. There's nothing to do with Jerusalem. Jerusalem is sui generis, unique city, and it should be the project number 1 of the government of Israel to elevate Jerusalem to what it can be and used to be, as in danger of losing. And this is something that we need to do.
What do you dislike in Jerusalem?
I hinted at it. I think that we need to see more equality in the way Jerusalem is built now. And I said it earlier, we don't see enough of that. I think that the fact that the fact that there are many people who are ultra-Orthodox, I have no problem with that. I have a problem with that many of them live in a different way of life in terms of not serving the army, not many of them in the labor force. I don't like it. But this is a general problem, not only of Jerusalem. This is an issue that we don't deal with now, but it's an issue. That if somebody, God forbid, there's an action, somebody falls, there are certain neighborhoods where nobody thinks it's our guy. This is something that should change, but it does not relate only to Jerusalem.
Let's talk about the ultra-Orthodox. It's not just that they live in their own ghettos, should I say?
No. So neighborhoods.
God forbid.
Neighborhoods.
In their own enclaves, but they seem to want to appropriate the public sphere, which means, just think about it, somebody told you, you're not supposed to drive on Pico and Robertson on Shabbat. Why? Because it offends some people. You guys have a constitution to protect you against these things. We don't. And everything in Israel, and in Jerusalem especially, is a matter of push and pull. So how do we live in a Jerusalem where everybody can feel at home without being afraid that the other will always try to impose their way of life on you?
I not only respect, I understand that, and I know the Haredi community quite well. Near Rechavia, where I live, there is a neighborhood called Sha'arei Chesed, just 2 minutes from my home. Another one, much bigger, used to be called Me'ah She'arim. I have to admit, when I was young, and after prayer in Shabbat, which I used to go to the shul in Osishkin Street, called now Hanassi Shul, taken over by Americans. Now it's called Young Israel Hanassi Shul. It became mainly American accent, American-speaking prayers.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong. It's better that they speak American Hebrew in Israel than speak English in America. It's great. No, but I used to go to Sha'arei Chesed. I used to go to the shuls. It was all right. I have no problem with it. I always thought that these are two remnants of the past. Now it seems that I may be the minority in Jerusalem. This is a dangerous development. I don't like it. I can't do much about it. But there comes the issue of public sphere. Let me go directly what I said earlier. That people live in their own neighborhood and they don't want to be interfered on Shabbat, I have no problem. People in Me'ah She'arim or Geula, where you live, I don't need to drive in Geula on Shabbat. But if people tell me tomorrow that in my street I cannot drive on Shabbat, I will not stay one day in Jerusalem. Because I'm fully Jewish.
Excuse me, why don't you stay and fight?
I'll tell you, I fight. But if I can't drive, it's a deeper issue than Jerusalem. You see, when there's the era of enlightenment, the era that brought Zionism, made a huge revolution in Jewish life in the following way. I don't want to go to it, but if you ask, I'll do it. People said, we are not necessarily a religion, we're a nation. We deserve a state. Religions don't deserve states. Nations deserve Woodrow Wilson's self-determination, right? To say that a man can be fully Jewish and fully secular, like Herzl, Ben-Gurion, Jabotinsky, Weizmann, was something that people couldn't conceive of 100 years earlier. For the Haredi community, the word Haredi is modern. For the Orthodox community, it was horrendous, which is why most rabbis objected to Zionism. We have sinned, we are exiled, don't push it. To say that you are fully Jewish, although you drive on Shabbat like Theodor Herzl, Ben-Gurion, Jabotinsky, is something that you can't understand. Now, we thought that we all are Jews, like people are French or Danes or Norwegians, and they can be religious, non-religious. This is a new concept in Jewish history. To say that I'm fully Jewish but not necessarily religious is something that never happened until the 19th century. So you see it in these places. When I hear that Judaism means only religiously keeping all the mitzvot, and you can't be fully Jewish if you do drive on Shabbat, well, I would say it differently. If a man like Aryeh Deri takes bribe, of which he was convicted, he's a good Jew, but took bribe. But if I don't take bribe and don't lay tefillin, I'm not a good Jew, because laying tefillin is Jewish and taking bribe not.
Excuse me.
So I think this is something that I don't accept.
This
And
guy,
go,
this
no,
guy
wait,
showed us the demographics.
Uri.
In 20
wait a minute.
years, we'll have more
Uri.
ultra-Orthodox, and you will tell them what?
A minute, let me just finish this. So, if we want to be all-inclusive for all Jews, Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, take the American distinction, secular, but all Jews, this is my approach to Judaism to life. And I think one can be fully Jewish in my culture, in my language, in everything I do, and not anti-religious. I do keep many things that I want. But it's not for me a mitzvah. I do what I want, I think is right. I'm fully Jewish. Others think that I'm not a good Jew in that. This is something that is much deeper than the question if I drive or don't drive. So if this takes over, if this idea that was before Zionism, that we are either all fully religious or non-Jews, then it's a sad story.
Okay.
So what I said here is that we are in a big cultural fight. If you see the numbers, Jerusalem is a unique case and the microcosmos of a problem that Meir spoke of. And I think
and we are leaving to Tel Aviv.
I think we need to fight it, not against others, but to allow for the public sphere to be open and modern city. I spoke of Bezalel. Why did I take Bezalel on me? Because Bezalel is now about to rebuild Bezalel in the center of town, in the Russian compound. If we build it there, a center of culture, of science, of students, of cafes that they drink, this will keep the city open. So if you make it if it's another yeshiva, I'm not against yeshivot, it will really be a second neighbor.
Okay, so we solved this one. Now the Arab thing. Quickly, we'll solve this one, and then we'll open up for Q&A. With all due respect to what you guys told us, and which is heartwarming about hand in hand, and if I may, my granddaughter Maya volunteers to be an instructor in the summer camp there. This is a drop in the bucket, and the city is racist. You know, a tourist, a Jew, came first time to Jerusalem, saw a big sign, I'd rather do business with 1,000 Arabs than with one Jew. He said, what a racist city. Until he was relieved to see it was a funeral home. So, no. It's a racist city. If you go to Teddy Stadium, you hear things which I think us liberals make us not go to a soccer stadium because of the things we hear. So how do we solve this?
This is a fight. I have to say that I was ashamed and shocked at the fact that this, by the way, American-born racist called Kahana came to Israel with racist laws, fully racist. I don't want to tell you where he copied it from. I remember I was in the Knesset when he presented a bill saying Jews and non-Jews cannot go to the same seashore. They have separate shores for Jews and non-Jews. A Jew cannot marry or have sexual relationship with a non-Jew, or else 5 years, 10 years in prison. Really copied from the Nuremberg laws. It was awful. Yes, we have racism in Jewish life. It's awful, it's shameful, we need to fight it. I must say, I don't want to take too much on myself, but
no, please do.
If anybody fought against Kahana to kick him out, right. I was one of those, to say the least.
Right.
Because I'm fully democratic, but there's a limit to it. And racism is something Jews should not allow to develop. And yes, we do see sometimes, yes, there is racism. They try to go as a Jew to Saudi Arabia, they will not let you in. In many Arab countries, Jews cannot live there at all. Even Jordan law has laws against Jews. It's not enough for me. I don't want to be equated to others. I speak of my own values. That when we build a society, that we see those thorns of racism in football matches, as you mentioned, in other attitudes, I think it's alarming, and we need to fight it with full force. Right. You know, when I was shocked, about 10 years ago, I was driving in my car, 15 years ago, and there was a debate at 1 o'clock at the news magazine about Betar Jerusalem, the football team. The question was whether there should be an Arab player in Betar. And the management thought of hiring one, and some people in public objected. There's a group of really racists who objects, and And the guy, somebody is interviewed by the lady who interviews him, and he says, we cannot have an Arab in our team. And she tells him, she said, but it's racism. He says, yeah, I'm racist. I said, but the man said it, but he was proud to say it. I said, something is dead wrong here. And I think that we have in the extreme edges of the camp, it's not the Jewish society is racist, it's not the case. But you have these things that need to be dealt with. As I say, with not only education, but full legal force. This is really the outer limit. One should not allow people to cross this limit. Jerusalem is not the only place. I mean, you have it in every society.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to treat Arabs as blacks were treated here 60 years ago. I don't want to go as low as America in the 50s or 60s.
Right.
We don't allow to have an Montgomery, Alabama here or things that you remember. I don't want it. We don't need to be there. And some people have the same language, and I don't want to go to politics of recent months. We should not allow the Jewish people to act like other peoples act, even very enlightened people. When they have foreigners, the xenophobia to see the attitude towards the others, this is something we should not allow, especially with our history as Jews that were persecuted for so many generations all over the world. So yes, there is a problem. The answer is to fight it with every possible legal means.
In Jerusalem, many people talk to God. You know why? Because it's a local call. So, and Nomi showed the Wailing Wall. So there's this Jew who goes every week to the Wailing Wall and put a zetele and says, God, please make that I win the lottery. And nothing happened. Week after week, God, please, until God comes out of the cloud and says, look, I'm doing my best, but you need to buy a ticket. So if you had your way, you won the lottery, you were the mayor of Jerusalem, you were the prime minister of Israel, what would you do about Jerusalem? And that's our last question, and let's hope you will be one day.
What I said earlier is what I meant. I think that if I were able to influence it, I would decide to take this as a major project for the government. If it's a government, it's over and above the municipality. It has to do with money, with preferences, and I think that the goal for me, is to allow Jerusalem to stay an open and inviting city for all the communities, Haredi, legitimately there, and the secular and the other religious groups, and Arabs of all kinds, to show that we can live together. The coexistence is not a dream, it can be a reality. It's not beyond our reach if one puts it as a major goal. It may not be popular with certain parts of the population. Most of them. Yeah, okay. By the way, in the Arab population, one of the problems that we have, I have to say, when we applied our law to Jerusalem in 1967, we did not enforce our citizenship on the Arabs. We gave them all the rights of inhabitants. They voted municipality for one. But in order to become an Israeli citizen, they had to apply to become Israeli citizens. Very few took it. The PLO and Jordan earlier fought against it. It created an anomaly here. The parts are not citizens. I think it's a mistake. I would try, if I were able, I would try to push them to take citizenship. I think they need to be really equal in everything. And I would try to convince the security services, which had not succeeded, to stop this differentiation in behavior to people. I would invest more in trying to make it an equal town. By the way, a good question is whether, if I have it on my own, should I keep the existing borders where we included so many villages that were outside Jerusalem? Maybe you want to have a smaller one, but what you have with full equality. This is basic to me. I cannot really I cannot live without equality. Equality to me is almost organic. I hate the idea that people are not the same in terms of what their rights are. Of course, people are different, but their rights are the same. The idea that people treat others as inferior to them and don't accord them the same rights, the same attitude, to me is horrendous. It's non-democratic, it's non-Jewish to me. Okay. By the way, non-Jewish, when I say, in our tradition, in our Torah, I mean, the way I read it, not the way Kahana read it, of course. The minorities with whom we live, the ger, the stranger, the other, is not entitled only to equality. They're entitled to affirmative action. If you remember, for all of you know the Torah, of course, otherwise you wouldn't have been here. You see that the rights that the ger, yatom, ve'almana go together, the orphan and the widow and the ger. And the ger is not somebody who converted. The logic is ki gerim eitem be'eretz Mitzrayim. Ger is zar, is somebody who is the other, who is different. Like you were gerim in Egypt, you treat the ger, the others who are non-Jews in your country. So they need to be treated equally and with affirmative action. Yeah. This is the Jewish side of it, not the democratic side of it. And as I'm fully Jewish, although I do drive on Shabbat, I have to admit, I'm fully Jewish, not less than anybody else.
You don't take bribe.
Okay. I think that as a Jew and as a Zionist and as a Democrat, I think we need to treat everybody equally. And Jerusalem is the laboratory when we can test it, and we can do it, and everybody watches us. And as I said, it's a historic test. I think much can be done. It's not going to be done overnight, but we can do it.
The next high-tech invention in Israel is we need to clone this guy, because because you just heard, and I'm also
Uri,
because he's my chairman.
Watch your watch.
No. I thought watch your tongue.
No.
You just heard the voice of sane, liberal, the kind of Israel we want to have in our heart. And I'm not saying it because he's my chairman. Okay, well, let's open up.